So ladies and gentlemen, since this isn't a full concert, you kind of have to imagine that you've just heard Your Song by Elton John and Blue Eyes by Elton John. And this original of mine is called Your Eyes. Do you remember the night when I sang you your song? It was the first time, but not the last. I had a feeling we couldn't go wrong. And now that future I saw has become our past. And now I close my eyes and I see yours. Then I look up and thank the stars above that we found us and made the journey. 'Cause I sleep happy and wake up in love. And when I go out for an evening and try my latest used guitar, I sometimes play them, the one called Your Song, to show them true love the way you are. And then I close my eyes to better see yours. Then I look out, there's the crowd, but do they get it? 'Cause out my heart pours, and while I tell them, it beats out loud. I well remember when I first played you your song, and I thought really you're who I learned it for. We chanced the journey and proved that we belong, and fought for us. It made me love you more. And when I close my eyes, I know I'll see yours. They're lovely blue like the seashore. It gives more meaning doing your song, 'cause you're the one I learned it for. Though I didn't yet know you, you're who I learned it for.
So today we're here with the one and only Mr. Doug Mackenzie. Doug, thank you for being here.
I am grateful to be asked and happy to participate. Thank you, Steve.
So you're a musician that I've always found is like interesting in a really particular way. Like you're a storyteller with a lot of this stuff, where I don't know that a lot of people see it that way.
Well, I've been fortunate in that more lately. Crosswalk Entertainment has been a big help and a big influence lately. Tina and Jeremy, of course. And the one event around here that is really in my wheelhouse is when they run a few of their song and stories. Because I can barely help from doing that anyway.
No.
And then when you're at that event, it's expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, how it happened, why, where did the song come from? Just take, for example, Steve Winwood's Can't Find My Way Home. How many people assumed Steve himself got a bit blitzed more than once and had trouble finding his own front door? Absolutely not.
No.
He would go to the Blind Faith recording sessions or rehearsals or whatever, and Eric Clapton would show up.
It's about someone else.
Out of his Gourd out of his element, just blitzed over and over and over again. When Steve Winwood says, can't find my way home, home is the ability and the desire and the capability to make the quality of music that they were capable of. And he couldn't find his way home to that. So the entire recording session was uncomfortable. The entire get-together was pretty much a waste of time, if he was even on time. And quite frankly, he was scared of losing his friend and bandmate. I'm talking life. And that is where the song comes from. And apparently it worked. Eric is still with us.
Yeah.
And Blind Faith made a damn bunch of great music.
Yes, they did.
So that's what the song's about.
Doug, you do such a great job of the storytelling, songwriting kind of thing. Right, like the one I remember was, and we did a video of this, with you talking about Tiny Dancer with Tina.
Yeah. If I'm allowed to say this on air, keep it. If you can't, edit it out.
What kind of crazy shit is Doug about to say?
I am playing their wedding.
Are you now?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations for that.
I'm playing Tiny Dancer as they walk up the aisle.
I love that.
Since you can take out whatever doesn't work, I'm not an expert at
Is it supposed to be a secret?
I'm not an expert at this.
I don't care if that happens.
So we'll tell the story as
I would only hide it if
possible.
that's not supposed to be public, but
And just tell you what happened. I used to have a residency at the Simcoe Blues and Jazz Bar. And it got bought and sold a bunch of times, and COVID happened, and it got bought again, and the third people literally had no minor clue who to call to get started.
yeah.
And they did not take the sign down that said live music every day. So
no.
It was kind of expected.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? So having lost my residency there, I was eager to get back at least once in a while. Thank you, COVID. Blah. And I introduced myself to them. And I said, I'll help you get going at least. And so they said, fine. And so I did 2, 3, 4 shows for them, I guess. And at one of them, I looked down to my left about 27 feet away, and there was Tina. 3.5 years since I had seen her. And during my residency at Simcoe Blues and Jazz, I had to change it up now and again. So I got on this thing where I would do mini sets of different artists. Gordy, Neil, Tom Petty, Elton John, whatever. And so I had just completed 4, 5, 6 songs of Elton John. Tina comes across the stage, looks up at me, and said, no, that was all right. Would have been really good if you had Tiny Dancer, and carried right on to play some pool. And then I launched into whatever else I was going to do next, and about 20 minutes later she came back, and I was in between songs, and I said, I don't happen to do Tiny Dancer out of all the Elton John that I do, but I'll learn it for you. And she nodded, and I did. And I didn't see her for 3.5 years until COVID was all done and Simcoe Blues and Jazz was up and running again, and I offered myself to help him get started, and there she was. So I played it for her that night, and the 2 lines are, you'll marry a music man, you married a music man, and yes, she will have. Jeremy is a wonderful musician, and I'm honored to repeat the piece for them.
I'm looking forward to that wedding. That's going to be a fun couple of days there, I think.
My God, they're wonderful people.
Right.
And how can you wish them anything but a wonderful life together?
Yeah.
And if we're there at the beginning of it.
And they're at the center of like the whole kind of Oshawa music thing. So it's going to be a bunch of interesting people at this thing. I'm really looking forward to it, right?
I find that Crosswalk Entertainment has filled a very, very necessary and needed gap in the local music scene. And,
Agreed.
between what she did there, I was in the very first Hometown Sounds, and then I did another one before we left Simcoe Blues and Jazz, and now it's in the Biltmore. And you might find it interesting. I think of course you were there that day. I've got some wonderful photographs and some clips that you captured. Thanks again. But what you might not know is Adele and I rehearsed for over 4 hours for our 22-minute set.
That's the way it goes, I guess, right?
All original music. I'm used to doing the rock sign for Rockstalgia for the past several months. It just comes naturally to me now. So I'm trying to count here.
That's how you count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So anyway,
5.
Exactly. So the point is, it had 3 aspects to it. It had to be all original music. Tina determined that she was going to do a one-off with duos. Adele and I qualified. But all of my stuff was basically written for me to do alone. So we had to write harmonies. We had to decide who was doing what in what order. And then practice it enough so that it seemed natural, which it certainly did not for the first half hour. And the rest is history. And we had a wonderful, wonderful experience. But as I say, over 4 hours for 22 minutes.
So what does your process look like when you're kind of doing that sort of thing? Because I think a lot of people, if you walk into a rehearsal and it's feeling tense and not working, you might just give up and walk away from it, right?
A, that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
B, the two of us were really enthused about the opportunity, and the chance to perform together is really remarkably rare. I used to have a standard joke back in the days of the Hump Day Hoedown at the old Thirsty Monk, I believe it was called.
Okay.
And apparently there might be a third Hump Day Hoedown reunion. Greg Cave and Matthew Holtby and Poor Pelly and hopefully Billy Blasco are talking.
I've not heard of Hump Day Hoedown.
It was, you're showing your young age again.
I know, right? I'm new.
It's got to be 15 to 20 years ago that it really got underway, and it was Wednesday night, and Pelly and Billy Blasco held forth at the Thirsty Monk, and the sound mix was always premium. Now I have a little anecdote about that. Again, if this goes, I'm not much of a sound bites guy. You might have noticed that.
We'll make it work.
But and I can segue from what I was going to say about Adele, because back in those years she was involved at Stratford. She did 2 seasons of the Stratford Festival. She was involved with We Will Rock You, the world #1 cast, and that is from Queen, by the way, not some pundit that says, oh, these guys were good. Queen said they were the #1 in the world.
Oh.
And that's after London doing it for 7 or 8 years.
That's awesome.
Yes. I saw We Will Rock You 5 times, 4 with my daughter in it, and what a thrill. So I had this little thing. I'd be out at an open mic, and she might contact me half an hour before and say she was available. So I always made sure I went up first, because I didn't want there to be a fall off.
I know.
And then I would say, bonus, folks, my daughter's in town, and we're going to do a couple of towns and tunes together. And back then it was a legitimate statement, because she could have been in Stratford or Toronto or on tour with one of the groups that she supported. She did the choreography for shows and sometimes toured with it. So Billy Blasco had gotten used to there being us when it was possible. So on this one particular evening, I showed up at the Thirsty Monk fought my way in through the doors, double doors with 2 guitars and God knows what else. And Billy is already up there on the board.
No one's playing yet, Billy.
Yeah, but he's getting ready. And he looks up and he sees me. Oh, just you. And goes back to the board. I kid you not, word for word, and the little edge of disappointment in his voice. So, yes, when Adele and I got to perform at the Biltmore that day, the 4 hours that we put in was completely worth it.
So something you just touched on there that I've always kind of found with my own stuff as well is like when you're doing an open mic or like a show that involves like full-size bands, you try and get at the beginning for your like solo acoustic set. Because no matter how good you are at acoustic guitar, you're going to be like a drop in energy from a larger group, right?
Yeah. And that can happen at any time, depending on the venue, of course. I mean, if they've got a corner stage the size of 5 times the size of a home plate in a baseball game, and not quite so likely to have a band. But in venues where people know there's room, every once in a while, some amazing combinations of people either show up or an actual band say, hey, we got 4 new songs, let's try them on these people.
Well, and you've been to like the 222 open mic, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the point of that one is like it's 4 bands.
Exactly.
Right?
And Emerson loves to jam. Like, I really think that's the high point of his week, because he gets to jam with whomever, be it harp, harmonies on a little drum kit, and then once in a while he brings out that guitar of his that can sound like anything.
That guitar is a funny thing, because it was like 2 months after I had met Emerson and been going to this every week, and I was doing the photo thing once, and I like took a photo, and later I was like zooming in on it, like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And you get in really close, it's like the pickup is just duct taped onto the guitar.
Yeah.
Like, well, if it sounds that good, don't complain, right?
And if somebody comes up with Foo Fighters, he can make it sound like that. And if somebody comes up with Gordon Lightfoot, he can sound like Red, whatever his name is.
A whole library of tones out of that thing.
Yeah, and he just apparently is very, very educated on what buttons to push in what order on that pedal board of his, and good on him. I have never even played through an effect. My Ovation guitar has 3 preset effects there, and I rarely.
That's all you need.
I rarely touch them. So. What can I tell you? I really didn't answer your question for 5 or 7 minutes.
I don't even
ago.
know that it was a question.
Well, you said something. What is your process?
Oh yeah.
And my process for rehearsing is very, very similar to songwriting. I need a bit of inspiration ahead of time. Why we're there, what is it we're looking to do, whatever, and the songwriting is much the same. The easiest to write ones are songs where you might not even have been looking to, but a phrase or two comes up, the hint of a tune, and then you can build on both of them. Elton John's process, where Bernie Taupin would leave some poems for him.
That's interesting.
They have never, not once, been in the studio together.
Really?
In 60-ish years? Bernie writes the words, Elton reads them, maybe lets them percolate for a while, and then he goes into the studio and writes music for those words. Does he change the lyrics at all to rhyme or go in a certain order? That's up to him. I can't say whether he does that or not, but I admire that sort of thing. And these people, my God, who write for movies when the movie's already
like scoring.
it's like this and like that. This is the story we need. We need that song for it.
Really interesting.
I just need I just need the free flow and rehearsal as much the same. You know, if we've written down 10 things and it's all very structured, I just feel constrained, I guess.
Mm.
But the hardest song I ever wrote, and Hilka requested at her birthday a couple of days ago, A Runaway Train. And it's 13 years ago, literally a month ago, that the train wreck happened in Mackenzie, completely unnecessary. And when I found out that nobody had written anything for that, I was so upset the next spring. I thought, well, I'll just get on the internet here and I'll listen to these songs, you know, kind of like the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I looked nothing. And about 20 seconds later, oh God, I have to write it.
I have to figure it out now.
And it took 3 weeks.
Wow.
The first thing is as gentle as a feather on your arm. So sorry for everybody's loss. 47 people in a matter of minutes. And not too many people know there's a 48th. One of the first responders just couldn't stand what they'd seen. And so I knew all that by then. And so, like I say, just like brushing a feather on your arm, so sorry for everybody's loss and tragedy and this, that, and the other. And then 2 minutes later is how dare you let it happen to the feds.
Mm.
Somebody called and said, oh, can we have just one guy running a train with 5 engines and 70 oil cars on it? The money.
It costs so much.
And they said yes.
Hmm.
No one has been held responsible to this day. Big court case, the whole 9 yards. Oh, it wasn't their fault, wasn't their fault. Just a conflagration of conditions. And so yeah, they let it happen. And I will be outraged to the day I die, but writing the song and performing it now probably a couple hundred times helps just a little bit to put it in perspective.
Well, here's the thing is, if you keep performing it for a long time, like you have been, I mean, all of the court documents are on the record, right? But I don't know that anyone's going to read that in 20 years. But if it's someone's favorite song, they'll hear that in 20 years.
Well, I hope, and I am going to try to make provision. I mean, you know, how many years do I have left? And I want to try to make provisions that the few songs, I'm not a prolific writer. These people, like Dolly Parton, every day. Good for you.
I don't know how they do it.
Good for you. 60 years of this, have I even written 60 songs? Probably not. And out of the ones that I have, which ones are the important ones and which ones are the, you know, nice melody and yada, yada, yada. So let's say there's 20. I hope to make provision before I leave this mortal coil, as they call it, to make it so that they will be up and available forever. Because the few that there are, I tried to make them count. Love songs, social commentary, a couple of minorly humorous ones.
Well, I love that you're thinking about the message, right? I don't know a lot of people that are doing that.
To me, by and large, it's pointless without it. Anybody can make interesting sounds. Anybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people can make interesting sounds and pretty sounds and aggressive songs. I feel remarkably attuned to a young man that you may be aware of. His name is Matthew Holtby. And Matt put out a post couple of 3 weeks ago and basically said what I've been saying for decades: I don't play what I like. He and I love our rock music. I was the hugest Zeppelin fan back in the day and the Foo Fighters now, and then in between I could rattle off probably 20. But Def Leppard right up there with them. And I can literally play one or two of each of these people's songs, turn it into fingerstyle without ruining it, still keep it as a tribute. But the vast majority of what Matt Holtby and I like, we can't play. So we play what we can, and we talk about the things that we feel are important. He's already written more songs than I have in a third of the time. Good on him. And of course, there's the Weber brothers. I mean, when I met them, they had just put out their 14th album, and they now have 18, one of which was a triple album, because they got so sick of not playing during COVID. They got together in a barn and recorded 31 songs in 3 or 4 or 5 days. Whoa. And it turned into a triple album. So much like Prince's output, I guess. But so they could have 20 albums now instead of 18, but they made the triple one because they did it all together. So I admire these prolific folks, and their stuff is great, and every song stands on its own. It's just not my personal experience. And,
so, like, what did the early days of playing music look like for you? Right? Like, I assume you were into, like, the heavy rock stuff. Like, presumably you got into this on some level because you wanted to, like, do the electric guitar thing, no?
I had, let me put this as succinctly as possible. We don't want to take up the entire afternoon.
Oh, we got all the time in the world,
with this one story, but there were several factors at play. My grandfather had a wonderful singing voice, and back in the day, from what I've heard, he would do, be it a hymn or a popular song or whatever, and he would sing all the parts in different verses. Start out with the actual melody, and then go to bass or tenor, and then something else, and then and my father grew up listening to this and figured that's how you sing. So God loved me, couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, but he had a beautiful singing voice, and every once in a while he'd have 2 or 3 lines and managed to stick with it. I said, oh, he can't,
and then it fell off.
Because he'd been listening to Grandpa go anywhere he wanted at any time. And
but he never really understood what he was doing with it.
Yes.
Okay.
So, on the strength of that love of music in our family, and I can't speak too much about my mom's side of the family, but I know that much about my dad's side of the family. On the strength of that, they put, and I use these words with care and on purpose, put my brother and sister through conservatory training. And they both resented the hell out of it. My brother is going the 17th time, and the boys are going to the Ball Diamond, and I don't know what my sister wanted to do, go have a chat with their little girlfriends or whatever, play dolls, whatever people did in the 40s and 50s. Actually, she was born in 42, so yeah, the 50s and 60s. And to be perfectly frank, while they made them stick to it and get through it, they didn't want that experience for me. And
okay. It was like your parents had learned from it not going so well with the other two?
Now, mind you, both my brother and sister have pianos to this day, and up until my sister's Alzheimer's diagnosis and whatnot, she played into quite advanced years, and my brother actually, to this day, is the choir master in a church out west.
Cool.
So they came around, but the initial feeling about it, the initial reaction to it. They resented it. And my parents, spoiling their youngest third child, didn't want that for me. And it wasn't until I came home at about 14 and 15 years old from youth groups and this and that, and saying, well, I must have said something like, I get to sit along and enjoy it and sing some harmonies and whatnot. And something your younger viewers might not get, but back in the day, if Christmas and your birthday were close together, my brother's was just before, mine was just after.
Ah, so you both only got one party.
We all got one party, and on some years you got one present, and it was a bridged present. So I can't tell you if it's 60 years ago, did I get it at Christmas and they reminded me of that on my birthday, or was there just some nice to haves at Christmas and it came on my birthday? I don't remember, sorry. But when I was 16, a very strangely shaped box showed up, and it was a good thing I was sitting down because I almost fell off what I was sitting on, which was a low chair. And I opened this oddly shaped box, and there was a guitar in it.
Do you remember what it was?
I do not remember the brand. I know that it was very likely about 1995, back in 1996. Okay. Sorry, 66.
There you go.
But it got me started. It was a steel string guitar. Everybody, for God's sake, start on Spanish.
Start on cheap
classical
stuff.
But I got through that, developed my calluses, and I went to visit my brother in Montreal. I went to Expo 67 4 or 5 times. I was in 3 different choirs, and I went once just to visit him. And over in the corner is this harmony arch top with a Bigsby on it.
Yeah.
And I had brought my guitar my entire life, guitar, golf clubs, in the car all the time, and I had taken a guitar with me, and I just hoped, and I said, could we trade for a while? And he didn't play much, so he didn't really care. Sure. And again, like an idiot, I gave it back to him. I would have it to this day.
I guess we have to rewind and tell that story in a minute, because that was off air.
I will. But anyway, my guitar sat too close to the heat, and when I went to give his harmony back to him a few months later,
oh no, it was broken.
The wood had warped. It had an action on it about that big. It was completely unplayable and irrecoverable. But I had gone there to give him his harmony back, and I did, because I'd made a commitment.
That's how you got into playing slide guitar.
Well, it was, yeah.
That's one approach.
If I had known about that, and I have a friend whose arthritis was so bad, I was teaching him, and his arthritis was so bad he couldn't actually even form the chords anymore, but he had been making progress. And I said, Ronnie, damn, you just don't want to have to just stop after all we've... And I said, I have friends who have similar things, and they start playing as laptop. So he put a great big nut on one of the 2 guitars that he and raised it up, and now like just the bar is like $75.
Oh yeah, they're not cheap.
And he had to develop a special way to hold it that no one else in the world holds it like Ron does, but he found a way. And yes, he can still play guitar. And so if I'd known about that 55 years ago, I might have been able to save that and find a way to use it. But anyway,
you didn't.
It's gone, and I didn't know.
So what'd you end up doing for a guitar after that? Was it then time to buy your own, or? What
happened was, and we're talking barely. It might not even have been in the 70s yet. It would have been the late 60s. And so I went shopping for a guitar, and amazingly, I found a Kent 12 string for $55.
Ooh, okay.
And it was in my, what was I doing? Part-time jobs and paper route and yada, yada, yada. So that was in my wheelhouse for budget. And that was my only guitar for 2 or 3 years. And I got to the point where I could pick the individual strings of the pairs up or down for certain effects, because that's all I owned. So I was going to make the most of it.
So you were like only 12 string for like multiple years, you're saying?
Yes.
That's difficult.
That's all I owned, and I loved it. And it ended up getting stolen. That's a whole other story. And so I got some cheap ass thing just to tide me through, a little Spanish guitar. And then I went shopping and I found a Yamaha FG180, about early 1973, and I was convinced that was the one for me, and I had to put a deposit on it, put on layaway.
Wow.
And so I was knocking it down. I had probably maybe $60 of it paid off. And I determined I needed to make a big career change and lifestyle change, and I approached the president of our company I was with, and I said, look, we all know the Vancouver office was to be mine. Every time we've talked about it, you guys don't seem to be moving on it. What if I just go open it? And Tom Tyson said, Dougie, you got my blessing, you go right ahead. And he said, please just stop in Sudbury and help John Logan. He doesn't seem to be able to hire. He's working way too hard, making way too little. Get him a crew and then go out west with my blessing. So I got up there and I got started with John and worked a couple of days, and I was just trying to get used to the town. We were in sales, and we just knocked on people's doors and found out who had kids and can we help you with some good books to help them with their education. The Canadian Education Society it was called.
Okay.
And so I needed to drive around Sudbury just to get used to the layout and where were the subdivisions and where were the apartments and whatever. And there was this girl by the side of the road with a big armload of books and hitchhiking home.
Oh.
I thought from high school, and I said to myself at 23, I better pick her up, at least she'll be safe. If my wife of now almost 52 years were here right now, she'd be over there sitting behind the lights going, yeah, right, to this day. But it is the God's honest truth. That is what thought process went through my head. And my life changed in the next 5 minutes. So a few weeks later, I went down to Toronto. I had sold a few orders. I paid off the guitar. I brought it back up to Sudbury. I played Your Song for her and invited her on our first real date, which was to go to the Sudbury Wolves game. And as I say, that was 53 plus years ago, 52 years married this fall.
Congratulations. You asked me for song requests. I think that's one that we need to put that on the record, I think.
Okay. I still do it to this day.
I've seen you play this song, and I think I've heard you tell that story in a different way.
Yeah, I could probably do it for her every month to this day without a complaint.
Brownie points for life with that one.
I have tried to thank Reginald Dwight, Sir Elton John. He has people that read his texts and emails and web responses and whatever, and did they tell him about 10 of them a week? I don't know. So I haven't heard back, but I hope he knows that between Your Song and Blue Eyes, it led to my song, which is called Your Eyes. And
Oh, that's the song I remember
Yeah.
you telling me about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's how it came to be. I had already learned your song a year and a half to 2 years before I met Eileen, and it just seemed to be the first one that she should know about that I do. And I remember now, she went over to, back in the day you had hi-fis. They'd be 2/3 the size of that couch.
Okay.
Some of them had a TV mounted in them.
Okay.
And then big speakers on the side.
You're talking about like the old school record player thing?
Great big, like you could sit on the damn
Yeah,
things.
yeah. My grandmother had one.
So, she said to me, after I played that, she went over and she had a stack of LPs and whatnot, and she said, well, what would you like to hear? And I was incredibly nervous and still pretty shy around girls in general, and her in particular after such a short time. And I used that as an intro point. I said, what would I like to hear? I'd like to hear that you're going to the Sudbury Wolves game with me in a few days.
Smooth like butter.
And damned if she didn't say yes. So, I don't know.
There you go. Okay, let's rewind and talk about the Ovations story.
Yeah.
This has always been, I don't know if I've ever seen you play a non-Ovation guitar.
Just the breed love that I took a couple of times. My friend Andrew Johnson winters in Colombia, and he can't take a full-size guitar on the plane. What's he going to do?
Not without risk.
Is he going to buy another seat? So he asks, as of last winter, he asks me to take care of it for him while he's away, and he adds the phrase, play it as your own. And it's actually better for the guitar to be played a few times while he's gone. So other than that, no, you probably haven't seen anything but Ovations. I now own 3 of them. This one here is called Queen Maple, according to a friend of mine. And it is a little bit deeper body than some of them. My 12-string Sunburst is a super shallow. And the majority of people who hear it, even acoustically, have difficulty believing what comes out of it. Charles Kamen is either the father or the son of the people that ran the Kamen Music Company. He was an aeronautics engineer. My guess is at some point in his life he just says, why not? Why can't we project this sound? I don't know how many molds they made, 10, 20, 75, but they stopped at this. This hasn't changed except for these cutaways.
It's the perfect one.
Since the mid-60s. 67 at the very, very latest, because it's perfect. They finally found it. So it's a parabola, and what I tapped there is what helicopter blades are made out of. The guy was an aeronautics engineer. And now whether you have the normal sound hole or these grape leaves and grape appearance, it just depends on. And you have your applause guitars, you have full-on Ovations, and then their Cadillac is a Damas. And I've pretty much resolved that I'll never have one of them. They are thousands. But for a few $100s, you can have a really great piece. And here's the pièce de résistance. This is the electronics here, the graphic.
That is designed by some aeronautic engineer. Holy
Precise.
smokes.
Tuner, volume, the 3 black dots are presets, and this is a 1985 model. My 12-string is a 2002. That is a 17-year span, and this is identical between them.
I love it.
So if I happen to blow a 9-volt battery in the middle of a gig, so what?
Swap them.
And that has happened twice. So yes, I'm a very lucky man. It took 10 years to find this. Thank you, Dan Welsh at Hands On Music, for working with me on it. And I just love them.
Yeah. But what was this story you had told me earlier about your first one?
I had a dear family friend who had been gifted an Ovation guitar. It was very different from this, just as pretty. I can't tell you if it was curly or quilted maple on the front, but it was blue, and it was gorgeous. And I think it had this instead of the normal sound hole. And she had 3 guitars, and she just said that I could borrow it for a while, which I did, and enjoyed it. I would literally play myself to sleep with it, and
Yeah.
and then I'd wake up about 3 in the morning. Oh, right. Set it carefully beside the bed.
It's got curves like a woman on it.
Gotta love a guitar.
Yeah.
And I had it literally for months, and I was just too conscientious, and I felt guilty, and I thought, well, I guess I should give it back.
Do the right thing.
And I did, and unfortunately I had a house fire about 2 months later, and the electronics on the guitar were ruined, and the insurance people said, yeah, we can't fix it. Whether they paid her off or got her another guitar, I don't even know. And I could have given it to her when
After the
was
fire.
clean, and said, here, now you have something.
Why didn't you tell me you were going to burn your house down?
Yeah. But anyway, at least I was conscientious.
Yeah. Well, do the right thing, and this is why people do lend you instruments, right?
Maybe there was some sense of that, but anyway, I really got. I mean, I liked them before that, but after those few months, I was hooked, and I found myself a smaller sized. They're called the mid quality Ovations are a lot of them are called Celebrities as the model, and I found about a 3/4 size black fronted Celebrity made in Korea, as most of them are these days, and I just couldn't get my big hands in the smaller neck. So I traded it for something, and then I got very lucky and found this at Hands On Music, and it's a full size. And right now I also have the only US made one that I've ever held or touched or seen, and it's been dubbed Black Beauty. She's up for sale, but I've enjoyed it for 3 or 4 years, and let's just say the Americans didn't tell the Koreans everything. This guitar is something else. When I first
So if you want to buy Doug's guitar,
we could make a
I
connection.
might want to buy Doug's guitar. We'll talk about that after.
I'd like to thank you initially for this time and this effort put
Right.
forward, and just put to Steve.
Sure, whatever you want to put. Well, thank you very much for this, Doug.
So this album came together because of Matthew Holtby and the Weber brothers. Right here you can see I come from the future, and I asked permission to cover that incredible song by the Weber brothers when I heard it for the second time ever. And permission was granted. If you look at the album cover here, which I designed, this side of the verbiage tells you how it happened with all the credits of everybody involved, but this side with the extra words is why it happened. And there's 7 originals on it, and it's on any platform you young folks like to use. I could care less if you ever pull the CD out of there. The lyrics, mind you, are in that side, so that would help.
That's really what you're
clarify
here
things.
for, right?
And it's on any service, Spotify, Deezer, Napster, YouTube, you name it.
So what's your take on like the whole world of like physical mediums versus like streaming with music?
Well, I was warned when I I honestly forget if I got 1,000 or 2,000 of these made. I think it was 2,000 because the extra thing was like another $500.
Yeah.
They're already.
It's a
doing
good
it.
deal.
But,
Sure. I'm
I-
sure you've sold most of them by now, haven't you?
I have a little stack. They wanted $200 to fold them and wrap them and shrink wrap them, and I didn't want the plastic anyway. So I said, no, just give me the parts and I'll put it together when I need them. And they were very gracious and did that. So it saved a couple $100. But I was warned when I did it that I would probably, and I don't use the word career. I mean, my career was in electrical work and supporting my family with a real quote unquote job, so I'd get a pension, thank God. I wasn't scared of starving to death in music 55 years ago. And I certainly, after singing for 10,000 people at Place de Nation at Expo 67 in Montreal twice, hasn't really been any stage fright since then. What I was scared of was that it would get old. These professionals who can show up at Good Morning America or City TV or whatever at 7:30 in the morning and play their latest hit, and that's all they do. Now, like I'm, good on you. I play by ear. Anybody who knows me knows that. Some of my arrangements take anywhere from 2, 3, 5, 7 hours. The song we discussed before we went on air here, Steve Winwood's Can't Find My Way Home, that didn't leave the studio for well over 10 hours of work.
Wow.
Over 3 weeks maybe,
Yeah.
whatever. But just consistent, working it out. And after you put that much time into a song, I was terrified that the 150th time, that again. And it really gave me pause, and I thought, oh geez, like you love it that much and you put that much into it and it becomes old hat. Please, no. And that was almost a more major factor than being able to count on supporting my little growing family. Was why I didn't do it. What was the exact question?
What do you think about
Right.
physical versus online kind of
So
stuff?
I was warned. I remember why I segued, because I don't use the word career. I use the phrase my time in music, which, not that I would dare draw any comparison whatsoever to Ronnie Hawkins, but one of the more recent songs from the Weber Brothers is a tribute to Ronnie Hawkins, their mentor. They were Hawks for a few years in his band. And they wrote a song called 60 Years in Rock and Roll, because he was. Well, as of this year, it's 60 years for me since the guitar was given to me by my parents. Thanks again, Mom and Dad. And I was warned that I would probably have some of these left at the end. I have X number of friends, and you talk about it, and them making an album is still important to them. And they just, if you're at their home or if they got their gig bag with it, they just reach in and grab one and just hand it to you. Here, give it a listen. On the other side of that coin, if you've got 10,000 musicians in a 20-kilometer circle of where we're sitting right now, how many of them are going to get signed? A dozen?
It doesn't really happen anymore.
20?
Yeah.
50? Maybe?
Maybe.
And so the fact that we can record and have, in my case, have good friends mix and a new friend master this, I have been told by people who have spent $10 and $12 and $18,000 on studio time, I wish I had sound as clean as that.
Yeah.
So the fact that we can release it, I do my stuff through TuneCore, and they put it on all the platforms. At least it's out there. So I'm grateful for that. Is it frustrating that the highest percentage of the people you end up playing for, oh, I don't even have a CD player in my car anymore.
Sorry.
And so I've developed this phrase, I could care less if the CD ever comes out of this jacket, buy it so you know where the songs came from, how the
Well, and you have a
experience-
physical thing, you're able to support the artist with it, right? Even if the
that's a big
music in the thing isn't what you're buying it for, right?
But listen to it wherever you want.
Yeah.
You won't get the quality of that maybe, but...
You don't get the little fold out with the lyrics, right?
Yeah.
That's always been the fun thing with like CDs or records or something, is like the extras that come with it, right?
I have 50 or 60 CDs in boxes in the car and storage unit and this, that, and the other that I bought from friends and acquaintances. Just as literally as a quid quo pro, because if I expect anybody to pick this up or hit enough keystrokes to find it on some service, then to me it's only fair. And the odd time when somebody's old school and they say, yeah, I actually do want to know how good the sound actually is from your studio experience, and sometimes there's a slight difference in the way the song was recorded to how you perform it 200 times later.
Well, the song keeps evolving as you play it, right?
This song right here is my latest thing I've written that actually came to fruition. It's a song about bereavement. It's called Every Day for a reason. And from the time that I wrote it to the time it went into Weber Brothers Productions to get recorded 14 months later, I changed one word. At the beginning it says, if you get blue, and the final verse says, when you get blue.
Okay. That's really interesting. So, Doug, we're coming up on our hour here. One last kind of thing I wanted to ask about is just, what advice do you have for the young people doing music now?
Probably 2 or 3 things. One is to find early on what is going to be your main instrument. These folks who, and the Weber brothers are among them, and Rico Brown, who plays with them, multi-instrumentalists. Gal George Gajurin, local fella, but he is on tour in Europe right now, as he does pretty much every year. I invite you to find him on YouTube, and I forget the exact name of the video, but it's something like 48 instruments in 60 seconds.
Okay.
This is a guy who records himself, does all the graph, I hit my ring on the guitar, gone. He does all that himself.
Okay.
And produces it. And if at any time during the writing or recording process he thinks that kind of sound would be nice, such and such an instrument does it. Oh, I don't play that one.
Let's go figure it out.
Now I do.
Okay.
And a half an hour later, a day later, whatever, it's part of the damn song. And he plays maybe by now 50 instruments, all well. Now, his keyboard work, his sax work, his guitar work are at the top of anybody's capabilities, and he does everything else just fine as well. Not this guy. So my advice is, if you think you're going to end up on guitar, give yourself a break and start either on a Spanish guitar or a classical, which has nylon strings.
Okay.
And if you really don't have the budget right off the bat, don't think you're wasting any time by getting a ukulele. It is 2/3 of a guitar on the 5th fret. They're shorter, they're higher, and all your finger motions on those 4 strings are identical with what you'll be doing with the guitar later. So you can go on a gradual process. But the overwhelming thing that has worked for me is finding not only your instrument and your genre, but what in life is important to you. If you ever end up writing anything, it has to be something with passion. They say for public speaking, know your subject, have a burning desire to tell, and be enthusiastic. And that is the Dale Carnegie method for not being scared to give a speech. Most people would rather die statistically than speak in public. They've done a survey. If you have a burning desire with your music, and maybe the first 20 things you do will be covers of your favorite groups that are easy enough to get started with, nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to make it a lifetime activity, as I have been fortunate to have that come my way over time, you need to find what you feel is important to communicate. We all need a bunch of love songs. Paul McCartney said, what's wrong with singing silly love songs? Nothing. We need more of them, and then they can be serious love songs, and they can be heartfelt, and all the stages of life can be covered with music.
I love that. All right, anything else you want to say before we get out of here? You up to anything soon?
Well, I'll tell you, I've got the Peterborough Farmers Market coming up this coming Saturday. That is August the 8th.
Shoot, we're going to be releasing after that.
There you have it.
So,
and
not that one.
My one of my favorite repeat events is the concerts in the park in Lindsay, and that is a week yesterday. That is August the 12th, 6 to 8 p.m. I intentionally do a weekend one year and the Wednesday night the next year.
Okay.
Because you get a different demographic. And if that's tight on the broadcast date here, two wonderful events in September. September 19th is a Saturday, and I'll be at the Whitevale Porch Fest, and I've been assigned to porch number 1 at 3 p.m. on that Saturday. The next day is the second day of Art on the Fringe up in Uxbridge, and we play out of this huge, beautiful, sound competent gazebo and play to all the artisans that are all around the property, and of course any patrons who are there. So that is Sunday, September 20th. My memory is I'm playing either noon to 1 or 1 to 2, whatever. And on both sides of me are a bunch of great musicians. So if you need a painting or a pottery or some jewelry or really well taken nature photography, Art on the Fringe.
Cool. Thank you for being here, Doug.
Thank you for the invitation and seeing me through all this. I dare say you're going to have a lot of editing to do.
We'll see what we do.
God love you.
All right. We're going to switch to music now.
know I'll be true. Da 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 da. Now we're together, as I hoped we'd be. I'll love you forever, and our love makes us free. Our love's eternal like the starshine. I know forever you will be mine. We'll travel on together in time.